Hi, welcome to my platform, Linda's TV show. If it's your first time of coming across this platform and you like what I do here, my dear good friend, you are welcome. After watching this video, please put on your notification bell to all notification. Is very important because it will enable you to know when I upload a new video. To my old subscribers, my old followers, to those who are dedicated, who always watch, share my video, oh, what can I give to you? May God Almighty bless you all and grant that your heart desires. In this platform, I upload video on daily basis based on what is happening in Nigeria and in Biafra land. After watching, please share and subscribe. And I also sit down here to watch the video together with you. Then we'll come to the comment section to say our opinion. You are free to criticize, but let us always do it constructively as we go into today's video.
Usman Yusuf, who is also Secretary to the Chief of Defence Staff's committee that negotiated the release of the last batch of train hostages and who was Executive Secretary of Nigeria's National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, and perhaps significantly is a supporter of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start with that interview. What's your assessment of that interview given by President Buhari to that Hausa language TV station? I assume you watched it.
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, painfully too. It's like going to the dentist without anesthesia.
Well, that must have been pretty painful.
Very painful. The reason is the president came across as a person who is disconnected from realities of our people. No compassion at all. Minimizing the sufferings of our people. So, a disconnected president, no compassion, chuckling.
Well, when you say disconnected, what do you actually mean? Because, I mean, we know that President Buhari is not the most emotive person, but that doesn't mean he's not connected.
He is not connected. He's never been throughout his 7-8 years. I'm from Katsina, where he comes from. We've never had this insecurity in my state, the president says, like we have. A third of my state is under CUA bandits. He doesn't talk to nobody. He doesn't go.
But you worked under him, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. He doesn't send.
He managed to connect with you at that point.
It wasn't. I didn't know him before coming to connect with me. At the end, there was disconnection.
So the connection didn't stay connected.
But the honest truth is, Charles, this country, people are going through difficulties.
You need an empathetic president.
People are pushed to the wall. Inflation. The worst insecurity of our lifetime, hunger, insecurity, and a president that is saying the hunger, anybody in this country who goes hungry is his fault.
Well, I was going to bring that up with you because there seem to be hackles raised by what he said, that Nigeria has enough land and rainfall. He talked about it in that interview because I saw the translation. And because the borders were closed for 2 years to boost local production of rice, no one in this country should be hungry. And you thought that was insensitive.
Very insensitive. Not even the United States, where I've lived longer than I've lived here, the richest country in the world, would President Biden come and say there's no hunger and it is people's fault for going hungry. There is hunger in the richest country in the world, that is the United States.
But let's put it in context.
Let's put it in context here. He knows.
What was the context in which he said that?
Right, the context in which he said that is that he was asked about, he was talking about food security, and he said his government shut the borders from Chad Republic all the way across the northern border down to Benin Republic. Why? To stop the importation of rice. And he said because of that policy, the production of rice has gone up in Nigeria. I don't know who is telling him something. Before this government came in 2014, the price of 50 kilograms rice was 17,000. Now it's over 30,000, heading to 40,000. The minimum wage in this country, in states that pay minimum wage, is 30,000. So, you get a paycheck, you cannot even buy rice. Rice is out of reach of the common man. I don't know who is telling him stories. You remember a few months ago, they put up pyramids of rice here in Abuja. And they took him and they were going to invite foreign dignitaries to come and see there is rice production. Well, if you show that, crash the price of rice to where you found it. So it is all big show. I don't know who is advising him. The honest truth, Mr. President, is that there is hunger in the land. There is insecurity. People are not going to the land to farm. Even if they do go, bandits are asking them to pay levies before they access their land or access their products. And there has been flood from Jigawa down to Bayelsa and Anambra State. People cannot go to the farm. And he's saying it's people's fault? Come on, Mr.
Well,
President.
again, that's why I said it's important to put it in context.
Yeah,
because the reason I say that is that there is the expectation, there's a lot of expectation on government in this country. I mean, people are throwing pieces of dirt out on the road in their neighborhood and saying the government doesn't come to clean the streets when they could easily pick up their own dirt. I mean, I can to some extent understand the president's frustration if he says that I have tried to create an enabling environment for you. Beyond the insecurity, obviously, that is a different question, but that I have tried to create an enabling environment for you, and you simply don't pick up the slack. You expect me to go to the farm and to create the industries and so on that will actually farm for you, whereas it's the private sector that should do that. I just give you the opportunity and then you take advantage.
And that's absolutely wrong. Long before the president came, people have been farming. There's a lot more hunger today than there was before his time. Rice was cheaper, all the grains were cheaper than before he came. And all these loans they say they are given from central bank to people, who are they giving loans to? Not our farmers, and we don't see that. You go to the farm today, you go to the markets today, the prices are way up. What enabling environment has he provided?
Well, the arguments that they've made, and I have to play the devil's advocate because they're not here to defend themselves, but the argument that they've made is that they provided the seedlings and all the environment and so on, but some people took advantage of it and started going across the border to sell the rice, and then it started coming back through porous borders, and the price went up.
No, and that's not true. After 2 years of closure of the border, the president himself came and said the closure did not achieve its goal. The goal was to stop importation of arms, stop importation of rice. It did not achieve those goals at all. So it wasted 2 years. I mean, Charles, I get really emotional about that. I'm a physician. I go to hospital. I see children with marasmus and kwashiorkor. There are millions of families that go to bed hungry in this country. Women, predominantly women and children, and wake up with no certainty or guarantee of something to eat. Here we are with a president that says it's people's fault for going to bed hungry. Let us move on before I...
Yeah, but I mean, I was just going to say that isn't that, I mean, almost a staple of a developing country, that you're going to find staggering levels of poverty. Good.
But when you look at the level of corruption, we look at the resources that this country has, and you look at the penury and the poverty, sea of poverty, wherever you go. Even in the so-called rich states, sea of poverty everywhere.
Well, let's talk about corruption, because that's another thing he talked about in that interview. He seemed to be blaming Nigerians for not reporting corruption, and he also suggested that, I think along the same theme, that he regrets the Accountant General's alleged involvement in the disappearance of 109 billion naira. So he appeared to be concerned about corruption.
Yeah, I mean, he's not been concerned for the past 7.5 years. We have 6 months to go.
Well, that's not entirely fair, is it?
6 months. We have 6 months to go, and I will give you my experience as a chief executive in the NHIS.
Right.
About the TSA, because he brought the TSA.
That's the National Health Insurance.
I was the chief executive National Health Insurance from July 2016 to July 2019, and in the interview, he brought up the argument that he created The government created TSA, Treasury Single Account, that all MDAs, all ministries, departments, and agencies of government migrate your money from commercial banks into the TSA for government to have a better look at it.
Control.
Absolutely. That's a noble idea. But I will tell you my experience with the TSA. I came in July 2016. And they were supposed to have migrated from September the year before, 2015. When I came in July 2016, nobody in the NHS could tell me what amount of money NHS has. So I instituted an independent forensic audit of all our accounts with all the banks. And what we got out of that is alarming. The 13 commercial banks have refused to migrate NHIS money from their commercial banks into the TSA in billions. Close to 100 billion. And I did all the report, bank by bank by bank by bank by bank, and sent it to everybody. My minister presented it to my board and sent it to the president through his late chief of staff, and I sent it to the governor of Central Bank. I sent it to our chairman, House Committee on Health. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Well, I sent it to the EFCC too. And there is a bank owing NHIS, holding NHIS money. I will give you an example. 11 billion. 11 billion, and this is for years, several years, not paid, not moved it to the TSA. And so when I took them to the EFCC, okay, we'll agree payment arrangement, we'll be paying you 10 million every year. That will take a lifetime. So if you hear EFCC has recovered 5 billion for NHIS, this is coming bits and pieces. And then the TSA, let me tell you the story about the TSA. And he mentioned the Accountant General of the Federation. He lamented how disappointed he was with the Accountant General of the Federation because he is supposed to be the custodian of this TSA. And he's alleged to have embezzled 109 billion.
Yeah, but he was caught, though.
Yeah, 109 billion over a 7-year period. I want Nigerians to do the math. 109 divided by 7, all they needed to take was 15.5 billion annually to accumulate 109 billion. Well, from the NHIS, 6 months after I resumed office, I came in July. On December 28, 2016, I was out of town. My people in my account said, they have debited 5 billion out of NHIS account without consulting me, the chief executive, or even asking for my consent. Who is they? And I went and sat down with the Accountant General of the Federation. Why was this money taken out of my account? He said he acted on directive. Whose directive? The directive of the Honorable Minister of Finance then. Kemi Adeosun was her name. I wrote a letter. I want to come and sit down with you and discuss it. She refused to see me. And I went and reported her to the SGF then, Engineer Babachir Lawal. And he called her in my presence and said, allow this gentleman please to come and discuss this with you. She never did. So 5 billion on the 28th of December 2016 taken without my talking to me. I kept writing to everybody, nobody responded. January 2018 too, it debited another 5 billion out of NHIS TSA account without consulting me. That is 10 billion from NHIS TSA account without consulting me. I exited the NHIS in July 2019, and during COVID, in September 2020, the same office of the Accountant General debited the TSA of account of the NHIS 6.2 billion. So over a period from 2016 December to September 2020, they had taken, the office of the Accountant General, getting directive from whoever, debited NHIS TSA account 16.2 billion. No consent of the chief executive, and not accounted for.
Because I was going to ask you, what was the money for?
They don't tell you. Government needs money, but talk to me. And I sent it to everybody. Everybody.
Well, I mean, again, as I said, that there is nobody here to I mean, we're not necessarily casting aspersions on what you're saying, because obviously you were the chief executive, so you would know what's going on. But we have to kind of
I understand
balance it, because they're not here to defend
and they don't need to
themselves.
be here. And I ask the EFCC, all they need to do, subpoena the NHIS TSA account from December 2016 to September 2020, and see these deductions and ask what were they for? Who did it? So the TSA account, noble idea, but they found ways of going around and taking money from MDAs. I can attest to the NHIS, because that's what I know, and that's who I complained to everybody. Nobody did anything. So for the president to say in that interview that the interviewer should tell the president any corruption that he knows of that they did not know anything about, and I'm saying it, I reported to everybody that needed to know. Nobody did anything about it.
Well, I mean, again, as I said, I am not a defender of the president or his position or whatever, but it is quite possible that he was not aware of the specific movement of money that you're talking about, because when clearly they became aware of the corruption from the accountant general's, the alleged corruption in the accountant general's office, the disappearance of 109 billion naira, they acted, didn't they?
Well, Charles, it took them 7 years to discover that. Every Nigerian, we're not fools. It took them 7 years to realize that somebody has gone with 109 billion, a single person.
But you could make the argument that the accountant general is the person who is in charge of the
he cannot do this alone.
And he can manipulate these things in such a way that, I mean, allegedly,
and
that no one else might discover.
Right. So, fellow Nigerians, I'm telling you, nobody can tell us we did not know. Nobody can tell us TSA was full safe, and I have the experience, and this is what I'm telling everybody. Right. There is 16.2 billion of NHIS money, and I'm passionate about the NHIS. It's an agency that can do a lot of good to people. And out of this agency, somebody is taking out 16.2 billion that we can help our people.
But the point, though, is returning to that interview, the fact is that the president acknowledged in that interview that money had gone missing, and that he was extremely disheartened as a result of that money going missing, and the fact that they went after it and have attempted to arrest the situation is to some extent credit to them.
Yeah, it's no consolation to us.
But the point here is that, I mean, his supporters would say that isn't this considerable focus on your part on an interview given to a Hausa language service by President Buhari just another attempt by Atiku supporters like yourself to do a dive bomb attack on the APC and the president, and it really isn't as corrosive as you're trying to make it out to be?
Actually, it's more corrosive. The deeper you dig in, the worse it is. I'll give you an example. No less a person than the Chief of Naval Staff told us about the oil bunkering in the Niger Delta. This president, when he was the head of state in 1984, made a decree against oil bunkering. Now they say a ship, huge cargo ship, comes and sucks oil in millions of barrels and sets sail. You catch him on sea, no papers. And the other day, I saw the MDs, the GMD, NNPC go in and say, oh, Tompolo has discovered pipelines that they've been sucking oil for the last 9 years. Who is the Honorable Minister of Petroleum? You tell me.
Well, the president did.
The president himself.
Yeah.
And it happened under his watch. And all these things, all the ministers will leave and
so
go.
So you would like him to take more responsibility for things like that, because the buck stops on his desk.
Absolutely, nowhere else. Nowhere else. I mean, and many other things you hear. So nobody can give us any excuse. Fellow Nigerians, 2023 election will be a referendum on the APC.
Well, that's what I was going to come to.
Yes.
Because, I mean, let's turn political, which to some extent is related to all of this. Beyond this interview, do you think the APC can manage to defy its deluge of critics, including yourself and the many who stand opposed to the way they say the country's been run for the last 8 years by the APC government, and make a political comeback under Mr. Tinubu?
Good luck. But I am telling Nigerians, particularly young Nigerians, that 2023 election is a more important election than 2015 or 2019. It is a referendum against the APC. They came to tell us 3 things. They were going to take care of corruption, and this is what we are seeing, and I can attest to that. They're going to take care of insecurity. Nigeria has never been more insecure than it is now. And they're going to improve the economy. The economy is nosediving. I don't know whatever anybody says. The dollar, where is the dollar now? Hitting the ceiling above 800. They met it at 167. Inflation was 21.3 in October. Inflation everywhere. People, the paycheck cannot even buy food for families. People are pushed to the wall. So the 3 things they came with: insecurity, corruption, and the economy, they have failed. So what are they going to tell us? And I tell the APC, all over I go, I tell the youth, the APC should be going around this country apologizing to us, asking us for forgiveness and asking God Almighty to forgive them for what they have put this country in. This country is in a ditch. A car, a bus is in a ditch. You're not going to change the drivers and think that car will go up. So we are going to hold Tinubu Shatima ticket responsible and explain the APC mess they put us in. Tinubu is part and parcel, is the grandfather of the APC. No member of the APC is going to absolve himself from this failure of 8 years. None. And we're going to hold them accountable for the 8 years. They are not going to say, oh, he's a brand new person, we are going to do this, do this. No. You put us in 8 years, and I am telling fellow Nigerians, it will be suicidal for us again to entrust the same party to this country for what they have done to us. These are the same people. We need a change.
On a practical level, in terms of the margins between the front-runner presidential candidates in this election, I mean, I know you're a very close observer of what is happening. Do you think those margins have grown tighter, or has the gap between them widened in terms of their chances of winning?
All right. So how do you gauge the margins? I've seen polls that make no sense to my people. I've seen people bring in polls. I just
well, they
laugh.
don't make sense because they don't favor your candidate.
No. I live in the United States. You live in the UK. You know, polls there. Scientific people get. Oh, we got this. How did you get this information? We got this information by phone, and I laugh. How many of our people have phone? I'm in touch with they don't even know what you guys are talking about. These are the people that will go and vote. So forget the polls. We are educating the people as to why they should not vote APC into government, with reasons, in the language they understand.
Yeah, but the APC are also out there.
Right, we'll tell them they are in government.
The hustings, as
they say. They are in government. We will tell the honest. They say they're going to do this to you. They say they're going to do. We have never seen in Katsina State, we've never seen IDPs until this government came in. A third of my state is under siege by bandits. So, are you going to entrust this state back to the APC again? The story is all over the Northwest. The Northwest is the largest voting bloc with 21 million. And we're going to go around all this country from the edges of the Sahara to the creeks of the Niger and convince our people why they should not entrust this country again to the APC, whoever comes in.
Let's turn to use all the votes that he can get his hands on. Absolutely.
And we are reaching out to people to realize that politics is beyond a person. They are all loyal members of the PDP,
right,
and they will come back to the fold. I have no doubt. But fellow Nigerians, 2023 election is going to be a referendum on the APC that has failed this country, and it will be suicidal. it will be suicidal for us to entrust the future of our children and grandchildren to this same party.
Okay.
That's why I'm doing this fight for our children and grandchildren.
On that note, Professor Usman Yusuf, I want to thank you very much indeed. And Professor Yusuf is a public policy expert, Secretary to the Chief of Defense Staff's committee that negotiated the release of the last batch of trained hostages, and he was also Executive Secretary of Nigeria's National Health Insurance Scheme. Thank you very much indeed. And last but not least, he's a supporter of Atiku Abubakar.
Strong support.
Hello, my wonderful people. As we have finished watching this interesting video, please, I want to see your comment, your contribution, your opinion in the comment section. Like I said earlier, let us do it constructively. Tell me what you think about this video that you have just watched, and also about the platform. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please remember to subscribe, put on your notification bell, share this video, and remain blessed.